Lewis Hamilton concluded the 2025 British Grand Prix at the historic Silverstone Circuit in fourth position. It was a solid performance over the course of the weekend in front of his home fans, but it was also tinged with a sense of regret. The podium finish had appeared well within reach, yet in the decisive moments of the race, something vital was missing, preventing the British racing driver from securing a place in the top three. Nevertheless, despite the disappointment, Lewis was able to draw some constructive conclusions from the event. He found encouraging signs not only in terms of his own improvements as a driver over the weekend, but also regarding what specific characteristics he does not want to see incorporated into the design of Ferrari's Formula One car for the 2026 season. There are times in motorsport, as in life, when it is essential to view the proverbial glass as half full, even when one's instinct would normally see it as half empty. That sentiment accurately summarizes the home Grand Prix weekend of Lewis Hamilton at Silverstone. On one side, there was genuine satisfaction for having put together a competitive and consistent performance across all sessions on a circuit that holds deep emotional significance for him, Silverstone being a venue where he has historically achieved great success. From Friday's free practice sessions onward, Lewis demonstrated strong pace and looked comfortable in his Ferrari SF25 single-seater. However, on the other side of the coin, there was disappointment that he narrowly missed out on what could have been a celebrated podium finish in front of his home crowd. Finishing in fourth place was particularly frustrating for Lewis Hamilton because for several laps during the Grand Prix, the podium had seemed genuinely achievable. At one critical moment in the race, the British driver managed to close the gap to Nico Hülkenberg, who was driving for the stake F1 team Kick Sauber. Nico Hülkenberg was still attempting to overtake the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll. Lewis Hamilton's charge made it look as though he could capitalize on their battle and potentially move into third. However, once Nico Hülkenberg overtook Lance Stroll and gained access to clean air, the Sauber driver was able to significantly increase his pace. With no traffic ahead, the German pulled away from Lewis, gradually building a small but decisive margin over the Ferrari. That advantage would later prove to be unbridgeable. At that point, the Scuderia Ferrari team made a strategic decision to switch to slick tires. They opted to bring Lewis Hamilton into the pits for a tire change, possibly one lap earlier than would have been ideal. Unfortunately, this strategic choice backfired. As soon as Lewis exited the pit lane on the slick compound tires, he encountered a patch of standing water on the track. This sudden loss of grip caused him to lose control of his Ferrari SF25. The British driver went off the racing line and ran wide into the runoff area. The incident cost Lewis several precious seconds, which was time that he would never be able to recover during the remainder of the British Grand Prix. When Nico Hülkenberg came into the pits for his own tire change just one lap later, the German driver rejoined the circuit with a comfortable lead of approximately 7 seconds over Lewis, effectively securing his podium position. Arguably, the incident with the slick tires was not the only decisive moment that affected Lewis Hamilton's race. An even greater setback may have occurred earlier in the Grand Prix during the first phase of pit stops. At that stage, the driver of the number 44 Ferrari had delayed his initial pit stop by a few laps. As a result, when he eventually stopped for fresh tires, he dropped from 4th down to 7th place. Upon rejoining the track, Lewis Hamilton found himself behind both Lance Stroll and Nico Hülkenberg. To make matters worse, he also lost track position to French driver Pierre Gasly. This left the British driver with a race that now had to be rebuilt from a more difficult position in the midfield. Reflecting on the strategy decisions made during the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, Lewis Hamilton stated after the race that the team had lost several positions as a direct result of the chosen tactics. However, he also emphasized that despite these strategic setbacks, Ferrari still managed to earn some valuable championship points. The British driver said that he was able to recover reasonably well in the latter stages of the race and that the focus now shifts to the upcoming Grand Prix, with the goal of achieving a stronger result next time out. Zooming out to consider the broader 2025 Formula One season, Lewis has repeatedly alluded to the weaknesses and limitations of the Ferrari SF25 single-seater. One of the main issues, according to the British driver, is the lack of stability in high-speed corners. In these fast sections of the track, he still does not have the confidence required to push the car to its full potential. The persistent instability undermines his ability to maintain optimal cornering speed. Meanwhile, in slower and longer duration corners, the problem shifts to the front end of the car. The SF25's front axle fails to offer the necessary support and grip to help rotate the car effectively through the bend. In shorter, sharper corners, these issues can occasionally be masked or managed, but in long radius curves, the lack of front-end performance becomes significantly more apparent. These technical difficulties have emerged on multiple occasions throughout the 2025 season. Following the British Grand Prix, Lewis went so far as to declare that the SF25 is the most difficult and challenging car he has ever driven at the Silverstone Circuit in recent years. The seven-time Formula One world champion explained that the car lacks any meaningful degree of stability, and that in virtually every corner of the track, the vehicle struggles to remain composed. In slow-speed corners in particular, the SF25 becomes extremely hard to rotate, which makes it difficult to hit the apex effectively. He said that finding the right balance is incredibly complicated, even with the numerous adjustments available on the steering wheel. The British driver highlighted the difficulty of tuning the car through the various available settings and tools, and described the process as frustratingly complex and lacking consistency. Nonetheless, Lewis Hamilton viewed the Silverstone weekend as an opportunity to learn and improve. He pointed out that even in a race that did not go particularly well from a results standpoint, a driver can extract a wealth of valuable insights. The former Mercedes driver stated that he now feels better equipped to explain to the Ferrari technical team what specific traits and characteristics should be avoided in the design of the 2026 Formula One car. Hamilton said that the features present in the current SF25 chassis make it extremely difficult to drive under certain conditions, especially when the track is damp or inconsistent. While he acknowledged that the Silverstone race was challenging for all teams and drivers, he emphasized that the problems were even more pronounced for the Maranello team. Although Silverstone was affected by unpredictable weather conditions, including rain that disrupted Sunday's Grand Prix, the overall outlook within Ferrari remains optimistic. The performance of the SF25 was significantly more competitive compared to previous race weekends, and on a dry track, the car would likely have been capable of maintaining the same race pace as the McLaren MCL39. While certain technical and performance-related issues still persist, as highlighted in recent post-race analysis, solutions are already in motion to address them. Up until Saturday, Ferrari was actually the strongest challenger to McLaren, according to timing data and race simulations. Team principal Andrea Stella of McLaren even admitted that the race pace of both Ferrari SF25S had the potential to put pressure on the Woking-based team. The anticipated debut of Ferrari's new rear suspension system, expected to arrive at the upcoming Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, could mark a further turning point. With that upgrade, the Ferrari SF25 might become a legitimate contender for race victories against the high-performing McLaren MCL39, provided some key refinements are implemented. The British driver went on to outline his vision for Ferrari's next Formula One challenger, which is scheduled to debut in the 2026 season. He explained that there were specific aspects of the current SF25 car that he would like to retain in next year's model. However, he also emphasized that certain elements definitely needed to be changed if the team aimed to compete consistently at the front of the grid, adding that this objective was now his primary focus. Lewis Hamilton also indicated that, behind the scenes, Ferrari is already undergoing a significant internal restructuring process. The Briton noted that many developments were taking place in the background, describing the changes as a proper transformation intended to position Ferrari as a team capable of fighting directly with rivals such as McLaren.